sing I believe. Spirit calls, come up higher. Love lifts us high and sets us free. Spirit calls, come up higher. Spirit calls, sing I believe. Spirit calls, come up higher. Love lifts us high and sets us free. Sets us free from all lack or limitation. Sets us free to realize who we can be. We are made in the image and the likeness of God. Spirit calls, so stand up and believe. Spirit calls, come up higher. Spirit calls, sing I believe. Spirit calls, come up higher. Love lifts us high and sets us free. Spirit calls, come up higher. Spirit calls, sing I believe. Spirit calls, come up higher. Love lifts us high and sets us free. Sets us free from all lack or limitation. Sets us free to realize who we can be. We are made in the image and the likeness of God. Spirit calls, so stand up and believe. Spirit calls, come up higher. Spirit calls, sing I believe. Spirit calls, come up higher. Love lifts us high and sets us free. Spirit calls, Spirit calls, Spirit calls. Love lifts us high and sets us free. Spirit calls, Spirit calls, Spirit calls. Love lifts us high and sets us free. Lifts us high and sets us free. Lifts us high and sets us free.
Yes. Thank you so much. So take that in, everyone. We are made in the image and the likeness of God. Yeah. That gives me pause. Does that give you pause? Yeah. Thank you for being here. My name is Dana Zahler. It's my honor and privilege to welcome you all here, and we also welcome all those who are joining us on live stream. So let's just start with our opening affirmation. Do we have it? Thank you, Byron. All right, together, let's just state this affirmation. There is only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the good. This is the foundational principle of unity. So John is going to read the daily word for us. No. Yeah, I want you to have the mic so we all hear you.
It's an affirmation. I am awake and fully present to life. Awakening from sleep, I pause for a moment to feel the energy of a new day. Birds outside my window sing a greeting. My still closed eyelids sense the morning light, letting go of the delicious relaxation of sleep. I stretch my limbs and open my eyes and rise from my bed. Awake, fully present in mind, body, and soul to each activity of this day and to each person I meet. I feel truly connected. I engage fully with my daily work, study, prayer, and recreation. I notice details in my surroundings and see expressions of love and kindness I may have overlooked. Each moment becomes more vivid and meaningful. Nothing feels ordinary when I am awake. My life is a journey of discovery and appreciation. What I say to you, I say to all, keep awake. Mark 13:37, a Bible verse.
Thank you. Can we give John a thanks? I thought that was especially perfect on a day where we lost an hour of sleep. We are awake, right? I remember specifically the line that says, the delicious relaxation of sleep. And that moment in the morning when you're like not wanting to let go of that delicious relaxation. All right, so we're going to greet our neighbor. So I invite you to stand and just say hello with a handshake or a hug or a high five or a kiss. I see somebody kissing.
Oh, was that it? That was probably where a wing was for crying.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
But I'll text her.
Come give you a hug.
And if not,
Oh, fist bump.
it's not right.
Where are you going?
Desert.
Arizona or? Oh, nice. Are you a golfer?
No.
That's nice too. Good morning. Good morning. I see you.
Yes, you do. I think I remember something about that. It's like they're lined up to. Yeah, take me away. I will.
Okay, remain standing, please. Because we're going to sing.
Yes, we are. We have a new community song. Jeff requested this one.
I release and I let go.
Whoops. Here we go.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here.
We're going to speed it up a little.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God.
One more time.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Wasn't me.
I heard you. So it's no accident that our talk title today is I Release. So let's welcome Jeff up to the platform. Yay. Oh,
Set
you
that
don't need that.
down,
Thank
and
you.
I'm going to set this down. And we're going to do our meditation. All right, everyone, if we can just, let's all take a deep breath together and release. Let's do another deep breath together and release. The practice of release is something that it's a practice, right? It's something that we do over and over again. And I think of this meditation as a way of releasing the things that may be clouding our mind, clouding our judgment. And the purpose of this time is to become centered, become one to another. Present to this place. So any anxiety that you might have, let's release. Any worries you may have, let's release. Just as we take a deep breath in to receive, and we let a breath out as we release. As the song lyrics say, that we release and we let go. So many times it's hard for us to let go of things. Let's take another deep breath in as we receive and we release. Let's release thoughts of uncertainty. Let's release feelings of impatience. Let's release. Let's release feelings of disappointment. feelings of uncertainty. We are releasing and we are letting go. Releasing. Releasing expectations. Now as you sit there, feel the weight of those things gone. Feel your body and your spirit rising above. Feel the golden light of love brightly shining from your chest, radiating out to those around you. And as we radiate as a collective, that bright light and attraction for all to see, to all feel the warmth of it and the attraction. Divine Source, God, we thank you for this opportunity that we have today to gather together as a community, to be in the presence of one another, to share this community that we call Unity Center of North Spokane. We are so grateful. And we release this day to you and to those that we come encounter with. Let us be present in those moments and those opportunities. And we recognize divine order and purpose. Let's all take a deep breath in and out and release. And together we say, and so it is. Well, good morning, everyone. Did everybody get a good night's sleep? Lloyd already told me that I'm going to have to throw stuff at him to keep him awake this morning because he did wanted to make sure he stayed out of the snoring phase.
I volunteered to do that.
If anybody knows anything about snoring, it's Byron. I want to say hello to those online. I know that Bob and Glenda Thompson are in Las Vegas at the Zags, or they're there supporting the Zags, and they send me text and let me know that they're doing well. I asked Bob, I said, when's the Lady Zags play? And he said, I don't know. And I'm like, well, aren't you there for the games? He said, well, they hadn't released the information yet. So, but anyways, I'm sure they're having a great time. So hello to them. Hello to Manuela, who has called me this past week. And just checking in. And to those of you, we appreciate you. We apologize for those that are looking for us on Facebook. We're still struggling with Facebook logins. But you can get us on YouTube, and we will post a YouTube link on our Facebook page. So, anyways, more to come. Before I start, I want to give a shout out to John and Julie. Julie's in the kids' room. John and Julie were here yesterday, and they worked on the books. And you saw a collection of books out there. John, if you ever get a chance to spend time with this guy, he is just an amazing individual. And they went through the books and got them all kind of sorted. And we are putting them out there. If you are, the thing is, there's a lot of really good books in that pile. And there's a lot of old books, too, that are really good books. And one of the thoughts that we had is, you see these little neighborhood libraries, these little neighborhood book hutches or whatever. Grab a couple of books for those opportunities. We ask for a love offering just to kind of help pay for things. But those are, even if they're books you say you already have, maybe it's a book you want to gift. It was so good you want to gift it to another person. So just keep that in mind as you see those books. We'll have more coming out as we release in this time of release during Lent. So March is the month of the power of wisdom. It is the month of James of Zebedee and his wife Salome. It is the month of denial that I let go of any need to label or blame myself for others or my experience. And it is the month of affirmation of I discern spiritual truths in all aspects of my life. I unconditionally accept others and myself. And we realize that the word unconditional, as I talked about a couple of weeks ago, it's a goal, right? It's something for us to shoot for. Because there's times we're always going to put conditions on things. But our goal is to be at a place where we can love unconditionally, where we can accept unconditionally. Now, Lent has its origins in the early Christian church. It is believed to be established in the 4th century by the Council of Nicaea. The exact origins of Lent are not clear, but it has been practiced by Christians for centuries as a period of fasting, repentance, and spiritual reflection leading up to Easter. Lent is a period of 40 days of fasting, prayer, and penance observed by many Christian denominations leading up to Easter. I found it interesting that penance was something that you in the Catholic tradition, that you go and confess and you're looking for absolution of your mistakes, as your sins, and they give you something that you're going to do in order to reconcile that time with God. Lent, of course, begins on Ash Wednesday, which we just had this past week, and it ends on Holy Saturday, which is the day before Easter. Make sure you all know this year Easter is on the April 20th, toward the latter part of April. During Lent, Christians give up something to make something or make sacrifices as a way to reflect on the suffering of Christ. The significance of Lent in unity is that we approach Lent as an opportunity to deepen our connection with God or the divine and to align ourselves with the spiritual principles that guide us. In the unity movement, there are 5 basic core spiritual principles. The first one, of course, is oneness. Unity teaches that there is only one presence and one power in the universe, which is God. We are all connected and part of this divine oneness. The second principle is of divine guidance. Unity teaches that we are all guided by an inner wisdom and intuition, which is our connection to God. By listening to this inner guidance or small voice, we make choices that align with our higher good. The third principle of unity is of co-creation. Unity teaches that we are co-creators with God in our lives. By aligning our thoughts and our beliefs and actions with the divine, we can manifest our desires and create a life of abundance and fulfillment. The fourth principle of unity, the unity principle, is the principle of healing, where unity teaches us that we have the power to heal ourselves, both physically and emotionally. By aligning with the divine through us, or within us, through prayer and meditation and spiritual practices, we can release negative beliefs and patterns and experience healing on all levels. You'll notice we have our prayer votive over here at our prayer station, at chaplain station. Each of those candles represent a prayer that has come into our ministry, either by someone filling out a card or going online and asking for prayer. And I would say that if you come on a Sunday and you have a prayer need, by all means, go over there, fill out a card, light a candle, and stick it. We're using LED candles because it's safer in this time of fire and that sort of thing. So we've modified it a little bit, but we still recognize the spiritual aspect of it. And then the fifth principle of unity is that unity teaches that we are all called to serve others and contribute to the greater good by living a life of compassion, kindness, and generosity. We can make a positive impact on the world and fulfill our spiritual purpose. So Lent is that time when we release old patterns and beliefs that no longer serve us, making space for new growth. It is a time to quiet the noise of the world and listen to the still small voice of Spirit within us, guiding us toward our highest good. Lent is a time to practice forgiveness, both of ourselves and others, to cultivate a heart of compassion and love. And it's interesting that during this time, when you look up when is the proper time to prune your trees, it's in this time toward the end of winter and just before spring. You want to get that time when there's least amount of nutrients and that sort of thing going into the trees. So the pruning and moving away of things that don't remove us is also in alignment with nature. So this time of release as it relates to Lent and as we're approaching Easter, we're not only spiritually in alignment with God, but our nature is in alignment with that as well. In the Western Christian church, there is a term that some may be familiar with called disciple or discipleship. Has anybody been through, if you were involved in a Christian church, were you ever involved in a discipleship program? No? Just a couple of us, okay? In my experience, that as a disciple, going through in a discipleship program, a course, you are aspiring to be like Jesus, and that there are gifts of the Spirit that we don't possess, but yet we want to gain. And so you're going through these practice of learning discipleship with the idea that you become in alignment with God, and that you will be blessed with the spiritual gifts. So we take the position that we don't have something, but we're asking God for them, and we're having to remove things from our life so that we can receive. So that maybe as you've all shared my story of a prayer for my mom, like that maybe God didn't hear my prayer because there was sin in my life, and that prevented my prayer from being heard. When I look back on that now, I feel there's a sadness, but there's also that feeling of being deceived, and how that deception wounded me through these years, of how it's hurt my ability and how I think of prayer. There's a major difference also when you think about that you don't have something and what you have to do to get it, versus knowing that you have that thing, and it's just a matter of how to activate it. Okay? So let me use this analogy. When I was in the beginning stages of my going into being a carpenter handyman, you realize you have to have certain tools. And when I first started, I had a 12-foot trailer with every tool you could imagine. I was very popular at Home Depot and Lowe's because I was always looking for the tool. And in my mind, I had to have the tool. I had no confidence in my abilities, but I knew that if I had the right tools and I had enough tools, I could equip myself for a situation. But as I began to work with the tools and become more confident with knowing how to use the tools, I got to the point where I no longer had to travel around with a 12-foot enclosed trailer. I could put what I needed in the back of my truck. And now I've gone from a loaded set of tools in the back of my truck to about 3 boxes like that of the stuff that I need. There's a big difference when you think of the things that you have and knowing how to use them. It's one thing to have the tool, but it's another thing to know how to use the tool, right? So, I'm a big Makita guy, by the way, if you haven't guessed. And then as you use the tools, you recognize what's effective to use and what's not. And I can't tell you how many tool belts that I've had to get to this point in my life to recognize that this is the best use for me of being able to have my tools accessible. It's having everything where I need it. So when the time comes, I know exactly where it's at the time that I need it, to make it available to myself. Because at the time when you need it, right? And then I've also recognized that there are certain tools you don't see, like I don't carry a hammer. Okay, now, in the past, I always had a hammer. I've gotten to the point where I don't need a hammer for most of what I do, because I've recognized how to do things without banging on it, without having to force it. And I say this because we go into things and we think that we have to have all these different tools available to us. And it's as we go through life and we acquire the knowledge and we acquire the ability to recognize that I can do that with this one thing. I've got tools that have 4 or 5 different purposes for it. I don't have to have 5 of the same of a tool. I've got one tool that allows me to do many things with it. And that comes from an understanding and a knowledge of the tools that I have. Now let's take that to our spiritual life. Our spiritual life, it's a matter of not how many books you have. It's not a matter of how much time you spend in meditation or how much time you spend in prayer or how many conferences you go to. It's a matter of knowing the tools that you have available to you and in using those tools properly. Now, unity is a form, the unity movement is described as a form of practical Christianity. Practical Christianity refers to the application of Christian beliefs and principles in everyday life. It involves living out of one's faith through actions, attitude, behaviors that align with the teachings of Jesus. So the biggest difference for me with unity is unity teaches and emphasizes that everything we need, we already have. So think about that. If I'm in a place where I've got to perform and I've got to discipline myself to get to a place where I can have those things, there's a much different attitude when you go into situations. Wait, I got to go to the store and get what I need. I got to go to God and ask for this patience or ask for these things versus be in a position saying, no, I have everything I need. I just need to know how to use it. I just need to know how to apply it. And in this situation, God, what tool do I use? Because you've equipped me with everything that I need. So what is it that I need in this situation? Practical Christianity emphasizes the importance of living a life that reflects one's faith and values rather than just professing belief in them. And one of the things that we need, that we go through and we learn is like the defining what is truth and what is not. What is truth? Capital T, truth. And I've shared the story with you about my time when I was weeding one day, and I had a Bermuda lawn in California, and in that Bermuda you would get, if Bermuda was really tightly grown, it would choke out the weeds. But if weeds got in it, it was a bear to get out. And so I decided I was going to, rather than spraying chemicals on my lawn and treating it that way, that I was going to take the time and get on my knees, hands and knees, and I was going to pull the weeds out of that lawn. And it was a pretty good chunk of lawn to do that in. So every night or every day at the end of the day, 4 or 5 o'clock, I would go out and get on my hands and knees, and I would go through and I would pull weeds. And one of the things that occurred to me was, as I started doing it, I was able, when I would go to the root, I was able to determine what was a weed and what was grass by the temperature of what it was I was touching. So I could literally tell that when I touched that was a weed and I could pull it. Because the Bermuda was cooler, whereas the weed themselves were warmer. And so in the course of doing this, I got pretty proficient in pulling weeds in that lawn. Not that I want to do it ever again. But the bottom line was, I was actively doing that. And one day, I literally felt the tap of God saying, that's what it means to know truth and to know me. That you can be sitting in front or lying in a bed of a lot of things, but you will know truth when you spend time with it. And you'll know what's a weed, what's necessary, and what is not necessary. Sometimes we're so close to something that we don't understand, we don't see the weeds, we can't tell what's a weed and what's good for us and what's not. And there's a requirement for us to take a step back and take a look at, what is it that I need to release? As we study the Bible and the Course in Miracles, we are connecting with truth. What serves you in this journey to become and to live in your higher self. Imagine that there's two representations of yourself. Let's say that I had a puzzle up here, and in that puzzle, somebody snuck in. They took out two pieces of that puzzle and snuck in two other pieces that had nothing to do with that puzzle. But you told me that everything I needed was right there in that puzzle. And as I'm trying to put that puzzle together, I'm pulling a piece, and I'm trying to find to make it fit. Is any fans of Survivor here? In Watch Survivor? Yeah. So we've seen those times, right? Where the people that are putting the puzzle together are so close that they're trying to make something fit, and the people behind are standing and yelling, turn it the other way, or they're yelling or whatever, right? And it's funny because you can sit and see what, and you're wondering, what are they seeing that they're trying to make this piece fit into that part? They're too close to the situation to understand what it is that needs that part is for. But if someone told you, no, that is your part, that's a part of you, how confused would you be of trying to make that piece fit? We are all created in an image of God, and there are things that are part of our puzzle, and there are other parts that aren't and need to be discarded. And this time of Lent is our opportunity to take a look at what serves us and what we need to release. When we see what we believe as a beautiful reflection of ourselves in the light of Christ, it's in our humanity that we see the pieces of our puzzle that we think fit, only to struggle. Or what about those word pictures that we get? Especially when we're trying to log into something online and it says, pick all the pieces of this picture that are part of a motorcycle, right? And you go, that one, that one, that one, that one. I always get confused when there's like two treads of a motorcycle tire in this one box. Is that part of the motorcycle or not? Well, technically it is, so I'm going to select it. So we're asked to look at a whole of something and say, which of these things fit? When I was a kid, when most of us were the kids, we had the highlights for children, right? Magazine that you would get in the doctor's office, and you'd go through there and say, which of these things are the same and which ones aren't? And you would pull out. It's a way of learning, right? I never thought how that would apply to me in my spiritual life, of what belongs and what doesn't belong. In the practices of unity, we have the opportunity, for Lent, we have the opportunity with these practices during Lent. First one would be prayer and meditation. Take time each day to connect with the divine through prayer and meditation, allowing yourself to listen for guidance. Now, we think that prayer is us talking to God, and God's probably going, take a breath. Just stop, take a breath. How can you hear me when you're talking all the time? I'm trying to give you an answer, but you keep talking through me. So sometimes that prayer and meditation they coexist. There's times when I'm praying, and there's times I just pause and just listen. Another tool that we can use is journaling. How many people journal, or at least have journaled at some point in their life? Journaling is an amazing thing, and when I was doing my study for this, I thought, gosh, I haven't journaled in so long. And then I realized, no, I journal every day. It just goes into a different practice now. Now it's notes, or I get ideas for a talk, and then that goes into a completely different system now. Oh, that'll be a talk about that, or this is a study on salvation, or what have you, right? So my journaling looks different now. It's much broader than just writing in a page and turning the page. But journaling can also be a very healthy thing to do during this time, especially during this time when we're in a place of listening and trying to discern what is it ours to do and what is it ours to leave. Writing down insights or reflections. Another practice during this time is acts of service, where we can show love and compassion to others through acts of kindness, service, embodying the spirit of Lent in our daily interactions. So one of the things that Wendy and I were talking about yesterday, and that we do as a practice here, is that we practice tithing to local organizations. Now, we haven't done that for a couple of quarters because we tithe to Unity, and we tithe to the hurricane that hit the East Coast. So there were some churches there that were in need, so we tithed there. Then the last quarter we tithed to the Southern California fires. That was another place for our tithe. But ideally, we want our tithe to go here locally in our own community. And I think ideally we want to tithe in those organizations where you are serving. So if there's something that you are actively participating in, and we've also tithed to Dana's organization too. So if you are actively working in an organization, we want to support you and that organization with our tithe. So we're going to be asking for you to send us, you can send me an email, let me know. This is an organization that I participate in. This is what we do, and we'll highlight that, talk about that in the newsletter, and we will tithe and support that. I want to tell you about Dignified Workday. Dignified Workday. So I've been alluding to some things that have been happening for me on the business side, my business side of things. And I can tell you much more about it today. So everybody knows I have a cabinet shop, and Lee is the guy that runs the shop, and I spend a little bit of time there. I spend less and less time there because Lee does everything now. But I was approached about 2 months ago. There's more to that story, but I get an email from a gentleman at Catholic Charities, and says, "We are getting together on this day. Can you meet? Can you be available?" And I said, "Sure." So we get together, 5 of us in a warehouse, and before the Catholic Charities guys got there was a gentleman by the name of Steve. I won't share his last name because he's a very private person and he likes to kind of fly under the radar, so I'll respect that. But Steve and I start talking, and we realize we are in so much alignment in how we see life and how we see helping people. And it was crazy. It was like, meeting a twin brother almost. And so before the Catholic Charities guys get there, Steve and I are already I'm not kidding you, within 10 minutes, he and I are like complete alignment. And I'm telling him about Lee and how that all came to be. And he's like, "Let me tell you about this guy." And so Catholic Charities guys get there, and they start the meeting off with this statement. And the statement is, "We are not going to wait for the government to solve the homeless issue, so we are. And this is how we're going to do it." And they line out things that they're going to do. Catholic Charities is spending a lot of money in this area buying up property, buying up apartments and places that need renovation, with the idea of getting people that are unhoused into those facilities. So that's Catholic Charities. Oh, and I would say that in the course of that conversation, they said, "We have all the pieces that we need, but we need a cabinet shop." It's like, okay. And they're describing, and I'm like, yep. And this isn't about the cabinet business operating separately. This is about the cabinet business. I'm releasing the cabinet business into Dignified Workday, and I'll tell you about that. So one of the things that Steve and his wife started doing by accident was one day she was at her church pulling weeds, and a gentleman walked by that was unhoused, and she said, "You want to earn some bucks and help me pull weeds?" And the guy says, "Sure." And so he helped her. The next day he shows up with a friend, and they pulled weeds. Through the course of these activities, they discovered that there are people that are looking for jobs, that the whole idea that everybody that's homeless is a drug addict or, alcoholic or drug addict or mentally ill was completely dispelled. They completely dispelled that by the virtue that they were getting more and more people showing up every day to work. So they created an organization called Dignified Workday. And what they do is if you can show up and you're sober, we give you a job. And this isn't a $17 an hour job. This is a $20 an hour job that people go on payroll. And they had 40 people on payroll. So these are 40 people that are showing up every day for a job with 100 people on a waiting list to get jobs. And so out of the course of this, they've developed a crew that goes out and does construction cleanup or yard cleanup. They've developed a group of people that came out of the food services, so they've actually started their own catering company, which I'm going to tell you, the food in this catering company is unbelievable. They have chocolate. Well, they had a lot of other food, but the chocolate chip cookies were this big and that thick. It was the best chocolate chip cookie I've ever had. They've developed a group that does painting, so now they have a painting group that goes out and does painting. They have another group that goes out and does ladies that go out and do janitorial work. And so they're available to go out and do janitorial work through the course of this Dignified Workday. And now they're going to have an organization that does cabinetry and woodworking. And Steve told me the interesting thing that they found is that a lot of people that are unhoused are in a cycle that they can't get out of. They lost their jobs, they lost their place to live, and because they're homeless, they have no address, so they have no address, they can't get a job. And if they can't get a job and have pay stubs, they can't qualify for low-income housing. So now they're stuck. How do they get out of that? So Steve and his wife discovered that by giving them a job and employing them and giving them a pay stub, they can then take that pay stub and go to a Catholic Charities property, or in this case, they're building their own property, to where these people can now get back on their feet. It's giving people a hand up, not a hand out. As someone said the other day, it's about teaching someone how to fish. It's just an amazing opportunity to see what is happening. And Steve recognizes that Lee is really a poster child for this whole thing because of his success. Because not everybody is a Lee. One of the things that they discovered through this is as people work and they start getting a little bit of success, they get to a point where they recognize, and Julie reminded me of this, and it was part of a Brene Brown podcast, what she talked about, where people hit that wall where they feel they're not deserving of joy. They don't know what to do with joy because they've lived in fear, or they lived in discontent, or they lived in these feelings for so long, they do not know what it means to be successful or to live in joy. And so what ends up happening is they don't show up. So all of a sudden, things are going great for 4 or 5 months, and then the person doesn't show up, doesn't call. Only to realize, like Steve was sharing the stories, like, dude, like, all you got to do is call me. Just call me. And if you're having a hard time, no problem. How can we take care of you? So what Steve thought he was going to get about 10% of those people would then transition into the labor force, out of Dignified, into getting a job someplace else. Some of these people are hitting a wall and they're actually regressing. So that's another opportunity. And I believe that's an opportunity for our ministry. Because those are people that need mentors. Those are people that need help with life skills. And when I say mentoring, maybe it's showing up and just sanding something or helping someone on a work crew. Or I've already talked to Steve about being able to offer classes. So can we offer classes to those individuals? Anyways, with all that said, these are the opportunities for service that we can do in our community and have an impact, an immediate impact on those people around us. But we got to do our work. And part of that work is releasing the things that don't work for us. You all were given a handout this morning. And I borrowed some of the Lent books, and there's some out there if you haven't gotten one already, from South Hill. But these handouts, I took the affirmations out of that handout, out of that booklet on Lent. But those are yours to use during this time of Lent. And this gives you the opportunity to, like, when you're feeling time of impatience or anxiety or fear, there's an affirmation that goes with that. So this is your opportunity, like, okay, I have a headache, and instead of taking Advil, instead of taking a pill, I've got an affirmation that goes with that. And so my prayer and my hope is that as we go through this time, that we recognize the opportunities that we have for growth and the opportunities that we have before us. In this season of Lent, know that you are blessed with the power to release thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that have been holding you back, and to renew your mind through the Christ in you. Give room to yourself for mercy, forgiveness, understanding, wisdom, patience, abundance, hope, contentment, calm, positivity, presence, self-worth. We open our hearts to the transformational power of the Spirit, allowing ourselves to be guided towards a life of greater love, greater peace, and greater wholeness. As we embrace these practices of Lent, may we stay curious and may we still be the blessing. Thank you. There's about 20 pounds there.
In the ever-shifting water of the river of this life, I was swimming, seeking comfort. I was wrestling waves to find a boulder I could cling to, a stone to hold me fast, where I might let the fretful water of this river round me pass. So I found an anchor, a blessed resting place, a trusty rock I called my Savior, for there I would be safe from the river and its dangers, and I proclaimed this rock divine. And I pray to it protect me. And the rock replied, God is a river, not just the stone. God is a wild raging rapids and a slow meandering flow. God is a deep and narrow passage, a peaceful sandy shoal. God is the river swimmer. So let go.
Still I clung to my rock tightly, with conviction in my arms, never looking at the stream to keep my mind from thoughts of harm. But the river just kept coming, kept on tugging at my legs, till at last my fingers faltered and I was swept away. So I'm going with the flow now, these relentless twists and bends. And this river's like my body now, it carries me along through the ever-changing scenes by the rocks that sing my song. God is the river, not just a stone. God is a wild, raging rapids, a slow meandering flow. God is that deep and narrow passage, the peaceful sandy shore. God is the river swimmer. So let go. God is the river swimmer. So let go. God is the river. So let go. So let go. So let's go.
You know, that's one of my favorite songs, and you've really got me now. There's a song about that, too, isn't it? Girl, you really got me now. God is a river swimmer. So let go. Peter Mayer. That is by Peter Mayer. There's more than one Peter Mayer, but I encourage you to look up Peter Mayer on YouTube because he's amazing.
He's got good stuff.
He's amazing. But that one is really my favorite. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wow. Mr. Minister. Wow. Wow. I just can't say enough. So that sacred service is such a gift to give, but then you receive so much. I totally feel that so much. I mean, most of you know my ministry is in the prisons, and I used to go because I thought I was helping people, but oh my gosh, I'm like at the trough, receiving every single time. Wow, I'm just so emotional right now. Breath. All right, so this is a time when we give our gifts to this ministry, and we give this gifts to this ministry because, again, when we give, we receive. So giving with intention creates an energetic flow through your mind and heart, creating more abundance for both the recipient and the giver. So thank you for your gifts. Beautiful. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you, Doug. So again, at this time, I also want to invite anyone who has a prayer request or knows anyone who has any prayer intentions, please fill out the form over there so we can have more candles than that little votive thing can hold. All right, share with me our blessing for these offerings, please, together. Divine love in, through, and as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you. All right, we will share Unity Statement for Peace together. Unity stands for peace in the presence of conflict, for love in the presence of hatred, for forgiveness in the presence of injury. Unity honors the many names for God, the many paths to God, the many ways to worship God, for there is one power and presence of God, and that God loves each one of us equally. It is therefore the position of unity to urge all nations, their leaders, and their people to turn to God by whatever the name for guidance during these challenging times, and to pursue peace, for that is what honors the God of all our faith traditions. Thank you. That is so moving to me. Okay, announcements. Yay, our family ministry is back. So I think I saw Katie, but I don't see her now. So do you want to make that announcement, or do you?
Yeah, well, basically, we've entered into a partnership with Spokane Learning Co-op, and they will be, when families come, they'll actually be entering into contract relationship, whatever you want to call it, with Spokane, with Katie's school. And so they'll be doing taking the kids and teaching the kids. It's a different kind of format in that it's a self-learning, I think they call it a self-directed,
Yeah.
in which the kids basically are teaching them. I don't know how else to describe it, but the kids have an amazing awareness of what it is that they are wanting to learn. And so Katie has a way that with her co-op is growing, and this gives her opportunity to do this on Sundays. So during the cold time, they'll be inside, and during the warmer time, they'll be outside adventuring. And Katie and I have talked about like how they will actually learn. There's so much about nature, right? And so much about of God and nature, and kids are curious. And it's also about teaching kids that in those times of conflict, or when they're disagreement over a toy or something like that, of being able to learn a unity principle about peace. And so that is what is happening. So we're excited by it.
So do you want to share the other news about?
Yeah, so if you guys, how many people saw the newsletter this week with Amber McKenzie?
Yeah.
So I cannot take any credit for this because, so I approached Amber when we were, last week when she was getting ready to give her talk, and I said, your talk title, but I don't have a newsletter because we're trying to figure that out. And she goes, oh, well, what help do you need? So I said, well, this is where we're at. And she's like, oh, well, I can get the newsletter out for you. And I said, great. And I said, I'm also got to write up a administrator. I need to hire an administrator. And so, because Wendy can't do it all. And so I was talking to her, and she's like, well, I'm interested in that. I go, really? And she goes, oh, yeah. And this is what Amber did when she was at South Hill. So her coming, she's taking basically all the skills and things that she had at South Hill and bringing here. And one of the things she told me, and she said, this community is so welcoming and so authentic that she loves coming here and she loves being a part of it. And so I just was chatting with her, and she's like, no, I want the job. And it's funny, if I showed you the text messages with her, I said, well, give me a couple days, I'll put put a job description for you. And before I even got the job, she goes, I'm in. Tell me in. I'm in. So anyway, so very excited to have Amber. She's this weekend is her daughter's birthday, and next weekend she's speaking at South Hill. So you'll see her probably 2 to 3 Sundays a month. She likes to take one off and go to Montana. Yeah. So anyway, so that's Amber.
So I could sing the Montana State song for you, but we're kind of running late on time.
Will you tap to it too?
I could tap to it as well. I tap to everything. It's involuntary now. Wow, so God is a river, right? We are in the flow. So 2 Sundays from now is our annual membership meeting, and that will be at 1 o'clock. We will have a potluck. So there's a sign up in the back for dishes for potluck. If you would please put your name on the list. We always seem to have an abundance of food when we have a potluck, so let's go for that. I would love to see you all here. So we are taking donations for local pet shelters, so it could be dog or cat food, it could be cat litter, et cetera, et cetera. There's a bin up in the front, if you might have seen that when you came in. So we are looking for volunteers. That list is like but a little microscopic view of the number of voluntary things that you could do here. So if you have an idea of a gift you'd like to give or a special service that you are good at, I would welcome that. So Sacred Support Circle is today. It meets the 2nd and the 4th Sunday of each month, 4 to 6 p.m. So it's just for anyone who wants to be in community. So Course in Miracles, there's 2 meetings. One is a live meeting at the South Hill Church on Tuesday evenings. The other one is on Zoom. And so to get the link for Zoom, reach out to Jeff or email him at that address, unityjefftawney@gmail.com. And he will send out the link. So our Unity Youth, so that was exciting news. But today let's just offer our blessing for the youth in each of us. So, yeah, don't need to sing the song, but let's bless the youth in your own little personal heart, and maybe the youth in your family with this affirmation together. Be the love you are, sing the song you hear, share your joy of life with people far and near. And we will just hold those loved ones dear. All right, let's stand and join in the peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. Take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin.
All right, together the prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well, and that's the truth.
of comfort in letting go. Giving it up to God is gonna help you so. You'll feel the sweet release, and then you'll know it's gonna be alright. It's okay, it's gonna be alright. It's okay, it's gonna be alright. It's okay, it's gonna be alright. Alright, alright, alright.
You may not be trouble-free,
But peace comes eventually. Into each life some rain will fall. But listen, brother, sister, you'll soon hear the call. It's okay, it's gonna be alright. It's okay, it's gonna be alright.